everyone, Comic Reviewer here, this time reviewing on the second season of Little Britain. Now, as you know, last time I did review the first season of Little Britain that aired back in September the 16th from 2003. What's actually interesting is when season 2 aired, it actually aired on October the 19th, 2004. And this was when I was starting secondary school, and when I was about 12 at the time. So much like Little Britain that had 8 episodes, this one had practically 6 episodes. And the premise is basically simple. It's still keeping true to British culture, with some characters like Vicky Pollard, who's meant to be a joke on the Chav community, David Thomas, who's meant to be an over-the-top guy pretending to be gay, but you also are introduced to newer characters, and some pretty much more sort of ones that you come to know with. One of which you have a character called Maggie, who her and her friend Judy go to events, basically fates and that, and when Maggie tastes a scone, she asks who made this, and the joke about her character is that she's going to be this old, racist, homophobic, xenophobic woman who vomits on sight. And I get it, the joke of her character is that she's meant to be an old, fascist racist, on what most communities were like. One of which you also have another character called Bubbles DeVere, who basically takes off her clothes and tries to get the manager of a health spa to sort of avoid paying her fees. And Bubbles' character is that she's over the top, basically will strip on sight, and so on. And I think this is where I think the second season tries to be a bit too vulgar and tries to sort of change its formula a little bit, but it's still keeping to what Little Britain was. I think what made the first season work was that it was more staying true to what British culture was. This one, it's still trying to, but adding a bit too much vulgarness in some places. And I know one of which you would also have another character that would be included throughout the end of Little Britain called Carol Beer. And her character is that she's meant to be this moody, selfish, basically ungrateful woman who basically works at a bank in the second season and says computer says no, and then coughs in people's faces. And what's actually interesting is, at the end of season 2, in each episode, we do see Lou and Andy in one of their ending points, where either Andy gets up and does something, and goes back to act like everything's normal. I also know that in the first season, you had the Guinness Book of World Records people who would attempt to try and do all these sort of world records, only to fail and sort of try and go back to the drawing board. I get it, they had to change the formula on that place, and probably realised they couldn't really do as much. And I know since Little Britain was renewed for a second season when the first one came, they had to kind of up the ante a bit too much. But I think at the same time, it still tries to be what Little Britain is. Like, yeah, you've still got some of the characters like Vicky Pollard, Lou and Andy, and also Marjorie Dawson and all that. And what's actually interesting is, in the Emily Howard sketches, you do see Emily with a new character called Florence, who is meant to sort of be the second best friend character from season 2 and 3, who's basically meant to be there to sort of see how Emily Howard enjoys dressing up as a woman, which he does as well. And I think the two work because you have the one friend who has experience and the other one who has a bit more less experience. And I think despite the vulgarness, you can kind of tell they still try to keep Little Britain to what it is. And I still give it a thumbs up. Still good and still alright. So, Comic Reviewer here, signing out.